Greetings, people of the interwebs, Jake here. So, gonna be trying something a little different here on the channel. Just primarily been focused on like reviews and stuff like that here lately, but now that Rings of Power Season 2 is over, and just kind of looking to try some new content, see what works, see if I like it, I decided I'm gonna start off with a new series I'm calling Metal Mondays. So, I'm a big metalhead and don't really get to talk a lot, or haven't really talked a whole lot about my musical tastes here on the channel all that much. So this will be a nice way for me to kind of just talk about like bands that I'm getting into, um, maybe like a particular album, particular song that like I'm into, or just want to spotlight. Just really anything that kind of in the metal world that I feel like talking about. Um, and so I decided with this debut episode, I would highlight a band that I've really been getting into lately. So the band is called Rotting Christ. They are a band from Athens, Greece. They formed, I believe, in 1987, but their first album didn't come out until I think it was sometime in the 90s, like early to mid 90s. And so that they're definitely kind of like a more kind of black metal band. And obviously, with a name like Rotting Christ, they had their fair share of controversies just based on the name. And I've known of this band for quite a while, several years, and I'm sure I'd heard like some of their songs here and there, but just never like delved into their discography or like the songs that I did hear. Nothing really like popped out to me. Not to say that they were bad by any means. Just sometimes I can listen to a song or a band, like an album from a band or something like that, enjoy it well enough, but it just doesn't pop out into me until, maybe a few listens later or later on down the road, listen to that album or that song again. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. So, all that out of the way, let's go into some top songs because again, only gotten into them recently, so I haven't delved super deep into their discography. I'm mostly just kind of like whenever they pop up on one of my playlists, or I'll just listen to like some of their top songs. So these are some of the ones that have really popped off to me recently. So, Inhuman Zibalba, The Apostate, Grandis Spiritus Diabolos, and Like Father, Like Son are probably some of my top, four songs? Yeah, like four songs that I've listened to and have kind of had on pretty heavy rotation lately. So that's one of the bands that I want to spotlight here, that I've really been getting into. And I guess I should also mention that like my musical tastes. So even though I consider myself a metalhead, I listen to anything from like the Beatles to melodic death metal that sounds like demons are fighting. Just to give a bit of perspective on my wide range of musical tastes, and even kind of like more traditional like kind of world folk bands. I've also been getting into recently, but so again, Rotting Christ is a band that I've been getting into recently. Don't know why, like, all of a sudden, just, I guess, some of those songs that I mentioned just hit me at the right time. I was like, oh, damn, this is good. However, I will say if you're not into metal, or maybe you're more into, like, classic metal, like your, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, which my personal favorite, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, bands like that, they're definitely not for everybody. They're not the most accessible metal band. So, and I'm very much aware of that. But if you are a metalhead and you have not heard of this band, I would definitely recommend them. And if you have heard of them and you are a big fan, let me know the first song and the first album you heard by them. Or give me more song and album recommendations. That way I can dive further into their discography and their songs. So another band that I also have been getting into recently, and would like to spotlight as well. I'm going to pull up their name to make sure I get it right. Yeah, there we go. And I guess sort of in the same vein, genre-wise, maybe a little less like death black metal and kind of more progressive technical death metal, but is the band called Allegaeon. So again, I think the first song that I heard by them was their cover of the band Yes, their song Roundabout. That popped up on one of my playlists, actually a few years back, and at the time I'd never listened to any of Yes, the band. Like, I knew of them, but I'd never listened to them. After I heard their cover of Roundabout, I was like, that song is phenomenal. So went back and listened to Yes, phenomenal band, very instrumental band from like the 70s. It kind of helped really popularize and pioneer prog rock and progressive metal. But all that to say, so that's the song that really got me into the band. Then I decided to check them out more. So outside of Roundabout, which is a fantastic cover, they also do a really good cover of Rush's Subdivisions. So would definitely recommend that one. And then some of their original songs that I really like. Into Embers, 1.618, and I mean, I haven't listened to them quite as much as like say Rotting Christ. Grey Matter Mechanics is also a really good song, but I really like the way that this band structures their music. And I'm by no means an expert on like music composure or structure or anything like that, but I still can kind of recognize like, oh, these are some interesting time signatures and all that. So again, if you're looking for something a little bit different, and again, something kind of with interesting time signatures and again, kind of on the progressive side, would definitely recommend Allegaeon. And then the last band that I'm going to recommend here is Bel'akor. So they are a band that, again, kind of had heard of before, but never really delved into until a bit more recently. Now, they're from Melbourne, Australia, which kind of surprised me because the way they sound, I was under the impression that they were probably like from like Sweden or something like that, like a lot of the really good metal bands that I listen to, like a little kind of side tangent here. But pretty much after, in my opinion, like after like the 80s, where, you know, England had just some of the best bands in general, like in rock and metal. But like once we got into like the 90s and 2000s, Sweden and Finland just, they have been nonstop hitting like banger after banger of like bands and songs. Like actually Finland, I think, has more metal bands per capita than any other country. So fun little side note there. So Bel'akor though, they're Australian, phenomenal. Again, kind of in the same vein of like melodic death metal, I guess, but still has like some progressive elements to them. But again, only recently, probably like back in May, June is probably when I started to get into them, and have had some of their songs in heavy rotation, such as Abeyance, Ventor, and Ember's Arc, The Smoke of Many Fires, just to name a few. Like those songs have all been on pretty heavy rotation for me on some of my playlists, or just, you know, when I'm jamming in the car. So that's probably something that I'll do in future episodes if, you know, this does relatively well for my tiny channel. Is kind of do like similar type bands and songs and stuff like that in my videos. Because also sometimes it's hard to decide on like one particular song, one particular album, one particular, you know, band that I want to spotlight. So kind of wanted to have like at least 2 or 3 that I wanted to kind of again recommend a few songs and stuff like that. And then, you know, maybe going forward I might do like episodes on particular like album or particular bands, because I mean a band like Iron Maiden, that you could make an entire documentary series on that band and what they contribute to the metal genre. But those are the 3 bands that I want to recommend today. And again, have you ever listened to these bands? Have you ever heard of them? If you have, let me know your favorite songs or your favorite albums. You can give me more recommendations, or give me more recommendations in general on bands that you love, and I'll give them a go. And maybe we can bond and discuss our shared love over some of these bands. But hopefully you enjoyed this kind of new video that I'm trying out, or series that I'm trying out here on the channel. So give me your thoughts below on if you like this, or should I scrap this entirely and just stick to doing like reviews and other similar content like that. But until next time, everyone, cheers.